Love this podcast? Support it and sponsor today. Simply head to ozcastnetwork.com for details.
Rat chats. Jeez, you went in quick with that, didn't you?
Hectic, wasn't it?
No, well, of course, you guys have missed me over the last 2 weeks, and I'm sure that hasn't been played out. There's been no rat chats to be had.
We've been bone dry on the rat chats, Davo, because you haven't been here, and it's one of your favourite things to talk about.
It certainly is. So I've got a rat story as per usual. Now, just came back from South Africa, went over for my mum's 70th birthday, and my uncle lives over there. That's why we went over to South Africa. And my uncle Alan, he's a pretty funny guy. Like, he's very similar to my mum, and so the two of them together are just trouble, as you can imagine. Anyway, one day we're sitting out on his balcony, which was really beautiful. It was in East London, down on the coast, and we were just having a few drinks. And as we were sitting there on the balcony rails, this rat climbs on over, like sprints over on the rails, but this thing was like the size of a rabbit. Like, it was big.
Right.
It was probably one of the biggest rats I've ever seen. And as you can imagine, I am thinking, well, one, yuck, terrified. But
and
two,
two, you're rubbing your hands together, licking your lips,
yeah,
thinking,
I'm thinking,
gee,
great.
I can't wait to be on air.
I've got rat chat here. Anyway, so my uncle decides that he's going to get rid of this rat. Like, this thing has been hanging around and it needs to go.
Yeah.
But he doesn't want to kill it because he's not that type of man, you know. He wants to sort of get rid of it without...
Humanely.
Yeah, without doing anything wrong to it. So he set up this trap.
What do you need, like a possum trap or something?
Pretty
it sounds
much.
huge.
Life scale of the game Mousetrap.
His house in South Africa is filled with all obstacle courses.
I push the bowling ball and it just goes through. No. So he has set up this little cage thing, right? And the cage has got a little bit of cheese in there. We know rats love cheese.
He's gone for the classic.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And sure as hell, he has caught the rat. Rat chat. This South African rat is in the cage. He's secured the package. But what do you do with the rat once it's done? Now, obviously, like I said, my uncle's a cheeky guy and he was pretty fed up with one of his neighbours.
Oh, no.
So he has taken this rat in the cage, this giant rat in the cage, taken it down to his shitty neighbours, and he has let that thing loose.
Wow. How far away are the neighbours? Is there a chance that the rat will come back to his
is the
place?
karma going to come back to it?
There is potentials the rat will, but they're quite big properties out there. So
Yeah.
I would say, like, the rat would have to go on an adventure to get back to my uncle's.
Sure. Hey, look, Davo, we have got our social media guy, Gavin, in the studio with us right now. Gavin, you told us an insane rat story off air.
Little bit gross, very gross. I rocked up home one day, probably after school or something like that. This is when I was way younger.
Yeah.
Walk in the house and there is this stench, like pungent stench. And I'm like, what is that smell? No one's anywhere to be seen. But we found out later that in the oven, this rat had been roasted.
Oh, God.
Roasted rats.
And it
Rat chat.
stank out the house.
Jeez, so for the rat to have been cooked in the oven, that means you would have had to be cooking a legitimate food at the same time at some point. Do you know what meal that was?
Probably a roast chicken.
Was there a roast chicken that tasted a little ratty, or...?
Jesus.
Ratty roast chicken.
Roast chook's a bit small tonight.
I was wondering why there's all these raisins in this roast chook. Yuck.
What happened with the rat? We're going to head over to Glenelg. We got Christy on the line. Christy, good morning. What happened with the rat?
Good morning. I used to manage a Japanese teppanyaki restaurant in London a few years back, and it was by the underground tube station. And when we used to turn the lights off, we used to look up at night, turn the lights off, and then all of a sudden you'd hear this noise in the kitchen, and you go in, and all these rats would come into the kitchen. And they were like in the dishwasher. Yeah. And then as soon as you turn the lights off, they would scurry away.
So it's like planned attack. Like, as soon as you turn the lights off, they just come out to play. They're a bit sneaky.
Yeah, and we're talking, 10, 20, yeah, all in the kitchen.
So, Chris,
And then one morning we had, go on.
good food there, or?
Yeah, it was actually a high-level Japanese teppanyaki restaurant, cook in front of you, chef. Yeah, I had to just check sometimes that they were cooking the right meat and not rat meat. But,
Thanks for getting involved, Christy. Oh, jeez. I'm just imagining like a bunch of Cockney rats running around like, oi, turn that bloody light off.
I wish we could talk about that for heaps longer.
Hey, Cara in Glenelg, you've always got a ripper. What happened with the rat?
Oh, my German grandmother makes a pretty potent Christmas cake. So she made a fruit and nut Christmas cake, left it on the sink to cool down, and a rat got into it. And about sort of an hour later, she's like, what is that noise from the kitchen? There is this paralytic rat that's been so trapped in the sink.
Cara, how'd you know it was paralytic? Was it starting to do a D&M, starting to tell you its life's troubles, or what?
Oh, look, it was lying on its back trying to gesture with its hands. I assumed it was passed
Just
out.
Take my keys.
Given the shackers, I'm all right. Don't worry
Callum
about
on
it.
a Saturday night.
Yeah. It's just like coming out of the highway on a Saturday at 3 a.m.
Oh. You were there for that.
You're listening to Davo, Tom and Callum, the podcast.
Subway are making a few bold moves here. They've gone for a new, I guess, sandwich, and changing up what everyone is familiar with Subway for years and years that it's been around.
Yeah, I mean, you've got your cookies, you've got your 6-inch, you've got your 12-inch subs. Beautiful.
What, are they just bringing in white bread or something?
Yeah. But nothing
The one.
about Subway has really changed since its beginning, really.
Yeah.
And
Except for a few of their ambassadors.
I was about to say that.
yeah, one big ambassador. But they've launched this new thing over in Pakistan, and it's probably going to spread to other countries with the Subways. But obviously, you have your foot-long sub, you have your 6-inch.
Yeah.
Now, welcome the 3-inch mini sub.
3 inches.
3-inch mini sub will be hitting our Subway stores soon.
I mean,
okay.
3 inches hardly seems satisfying, does it?
3 inches is fine.
Hey, it's not about how big it is, Davo.
It's the taste. And the amount of cheese on it.
No, we're talking about sandwiches here, boys.
But yeah, it's
Don't rope me in with him.
but it's a 3-inch sub, and it's a little bit smaller than usual. It does sound a little bit odd. It's probably only bite size, right?
Yeah, well.
Nah, I'm ending this now.
Who cares if there's one meatball in it?
I'm sure
It's not disfigured.
Oh, there's got to be at
Hey,
least 2 meatballs.
I'm sure there's plenty of... I've met a few blokes out there that would be defending the 3-inch sub. I've got
3-incher,
no
yeah.
doubt. What's wrong with us?
Sometimes me think, what is friend? Then me say, friend is someone to listen to Davo, Tom and Callum podcast. Cookie, nom 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 nom.
Hey, Davo, while you were away, me and Callum played this really fun game called Dial an Aussie for our good friends over at Aussie Tyres.
Fun.
So the person who won it won themselves a 2K tyres and wheel package.
Oh, that's sick.
All they had to do was text in the word Aussie. We'd call them back, say Aussie, 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 and they had to respond with tyres, tyres, tyres. But on the text line, people were giving their stories as to why they'd love a new set of tyres or wheels or whatever with this 2K package. And this one woman texted in, Melissa, and she said, I'd love to treat my sassy car Delilah to a new set of rims and tyres. Now, this caught our attention immediately. She adds on, she puts a smile on my face every time I drive her. I can't afford a Treato myself.
Okay.
This woman has given her car a full-on human personality.
I think it really is one thing to name your car, isn't it? Because you do hear that a little bit. Someone will name their car, but adding the personality traits, adding how the car makes you feel.
And
Yeah.
almost like the car's part of the family, like she's talking about a pet. You know what I mean? It's feeling a little familiar.
Yeah.
Like the kids have been cut out of the photo album, just to have the car slipped in there in a dodgy Photoshop effort.
Hey there, Delilah.
Look, I personally, I don't like people naming their cars. I
Yeah.
think there's something a bit off with it. It's a bit strange. There's too much of a connection between them and their car.
I mean, I've named cars in the
Have you?
past.
You've named cars?
I mean, hey, don't you get involved here, mate. If you're going to come for me, Callum, you don't have a car.
I don't have a car yet. but there may be a name in place. I don't know. If I get a car and I feel like there needs to be a name, maybe I would do it.
Look, I honestly
what would
see
you
Callum
choose?
as someone naming his car. But David, your car right now, has your car got a name?
No, this car is a girl. They're always girls. This car doesn't have a name, my current Mazda 3. I thought if it did have a name, it'd be something like Shannon. It's just a bit,
okay.
I don't know.
Shannon's so neutral.
Yeah, well, that's the type of car it is. Silver Mazda 3. It just felt very, practical and maybe just a bit bogan. I don't know.
Right.
Sorry, Shannon's out there.
What are some of the other car names you've had in the past?
So I had a red Suzuki Swift, and she was cute, and her name was Penny.
Penny is a
Righto.
cute name. Yeah. I had a mate that had his car called it Lucy.
Lucy.
Yeah, but I didn't like the vibe of him around that car.
Nah.
I didn't like the way.
name.
I didn't like the way he looked at it, or the way he
Look
washed
at his
or
lips.
the way he washed the bonnet on a Sunday afternoon. There was something else going on there.
Oh, I can tell by that
booty.
name, yeah.
Slapping the exhaust pipe
He
around.
doesn't call it a booty, he calls it a booty.
But yeah, it made me uncomfortable.
Plenty of people in the Fresh fam have named their cars because this is absolutely blown up. We've got so many texts and a few people on the line as well. But this first text here says, not only have I named my VEU Bossy, but I'm a truck driver and named my 3 trucks in rotation who are Dolly Downer, Navi and Bruh. Full name, Deb Bruh.
I love Deborah being.
Oh,
Deborah
I
being
hated
converted
reading that in real time.
Yeah, it's BRUH, bruh.
Bruh.
I feel like you need that though. If you have a fleet of trucks, you need some distinguishable names. Someone else said, "Hi, back in the day, I had a twin cam carb purple called Cecilia that I called."
No. He had a twin cam, twin carb, purple Celica.
Well, what the hell's a twin carb? I don't know what that is. Cecilia. I called Fozzie after Fozzie Bear.
Showing your masculinity there,
what
mate.
is it? It looked like gibberish.
He doesn't know He doesn't know cars yet. This one here, a classic Ford pickup truck called Betty. Get it from Betty Ford from Brenton.
Yeah, another one here. Stacey Miller has texted in the full name. My partner calls this 100 Series Land Cruiser Cherry. She's a dark burgundy colour and she is pretty sexy.
I don't like when
So this
people
is on
talk about cars like that.
It's 100% on the same vein, and I'll out him as my mate Will, who has Lucy and would look at it weirdly on the weekends.
Yeah.
This one here, my 4x4 is called Basil, only due to number plate being BZL. Good one.
And this one here from Michael, he says, my car is called a piece of shit. It really suits it.
Oh, Michael.
Oh, sorry, mate.
That's the kind of name I can get around. Hey, we're going to go to Seacliff. We got Trev on the line. Trev, what's your car's name?
Good morning. So my car, well, it used to be called a Hoover.
Hoover.
Because we used to drive around a lot of dirt roads and it just filled up with dust.
Sucked up the dust.
Yeah, right. Well, Trev, what kind of car was it?
It's an old XB Falcon.
Yeah, nice.
This is a long time ago.
How often are you using the name Hoover? Do you just use it in random sentences, like I'm going to go pick up the Hoover, I'm dropping things off
Back
in the
in the
Hoover?
day, I guess that's what a vacuum cleaner was called.
Good on you, Trev. Thanks for getting involved. We're going to go to Simon in Hillbank. Simon, have you named your car?
Well, not a car. It was one of the girls at work. She drove a rubbish truck under the Rosetta Street Bridge and got it pretty damaged, and it's now called Rosie.
Hey, Rosie. That's a bit of fun.
that
That's
is a
turning
bit
some
of fun.
tragedy into some fun.
Thanks for getting involved, Simon. Hey, Paul in Tea Tree Gully, what have you named your car?
The Death Star.
Ooh, are you a big Star Wars fan?
Yeah, sort of, yeah.
Well, why was it called the Death Star?
Yeah, was it like a sphere or what was going on?
No, it's a big black Chevy Silverado that contributes to killing the planet, I think. So,
Yeah, well,
hence the name, the Death Star.
do other people call it the Death Star, like in Fear, when it's coming down the road?
They sure do.
That's no moon, they say. Hey, Chris in Aldinga, have you named your car?
How you going, guys?
Yeah,
I've got a 1954 FJ Holden, just teal blue with a white roof, and
beautiful.
ever since I've got it, I've called it Effie. So she's just we'll take Effie out for a spin.
Right, did that name come to you like the minute you got the car, or?
It's a pretty stereotypical name, but for an FJ Holden, but
Yeah, I like
sort
it.
of just stuck with it.
Does anyone give you flack for naming the car, or everyone loves Effie?
Not yet. Well, not to my face. Just behind my back.
Chris,
Yeah.
I'll do it to your face right now. Stop naming your car. Good on you, mate.
You're listening to Davo, Tom and Callum, the podcast.
So, of course, I'm back from South Africa. I've been on an adventure for the last couple of weeks, and what a good time it was. But I'm sure while the cat's away, the rats will play you too.
Oh, the rats played, yes, in one of those little spinny wheels.
Why do you get to be the cat?
Meow, I don't know. Aren't they like so cool and whatever?
Is
Cats?
it because they eat the rats?
Well, yeah, I guess so.
Yeah,
Look
okay.
out, nom nom. Anyway, a bit rusty on the radio, guys. No, so just before I was leaving, there was this viral article going around about this woman, and she was looking for her soulmate on a plane.
In a whirlwind of hopes and dreams, one Turkish woman was hoping to land a hunky neighbor on a plane. Each one held the promise of her potential soulmate.
Yeah, so this video was going around, and basically this woman's in her passenger seat, and she's gone to her mates, "Oi, film whoever sits next to me, because I know this is going to be the love of my life."
It is a funny one, though, because you get it with, like, public transport a bit as well, that when you're sitting in a spot and someone comes and sits next to you, you do think in your head, like, geez, this could be the one.
Do you?
Because they're going to have to
I've never thought that. Not once have I caught the bus and thought, geez, I'm going to find my soulmate on the way to the city today.
It's straight out from Manapara.
If it's like a half an hour trip or something, you're like, oh, you could chat up a storm over half an hour. This could be something good.
You would be my worst nightmare to sit next to you on any transport.
We have very different ideas of public transport.
Yeah, Tom and I would be silent.
It's the new matchmaking service, I'm telling you.
In fact, I would choose to stand rather than sit next to a random.
Well, it's funny you say that. So I thought I'd give this a bit of a crack.
Sure.
You know, I thought, what a perfect opportunity. Like, this could be it. This could be the roulette to the love of my life. How exciting. Anyway, so I've chosen an aisle seat, my favourite place to sit on the plane. And the two seats next to me are empty, and I'm thinking, oh, I could be in luck here. Could be empty seats next to me, and maybe, hey, no soulmate, but extra room on the way over to Singapore.
Clear run to the bathroom too.
True.
Just in case.
Two empty seats could get a pair of swingers as well.
Ooh, it could be 2 for 1 deal.
Yeah.
Anyway, so I'm sitting there looking at all these potentials, walking past. No loves of the lives happening here. And anyway, this man sits next to me, and he's heading back home to Singapore, and he's everything's fine. Like, he sort of gives me the nod and whatever.
Okay.
I was thinking, ooh, who knows? You
This
know,
could be it.
Yeah.
We get into the flight within probably 2 seconds before takeoff. He's probably been sitting there for like less than 2 minutes. And the air hostess walks past and he says, can I move?
Well, he requests a seat change.
Yeah, because there was a row in front of us that was empty. So the second he gets in there, sits down next to me, goes, right, I'm out of here. Boom.
Yeah.
So he was probably playing the game too.
Hey, unlucky. Jeez.
So, did not find the love of your life on the plane?
No.
You booked another trip just to seal the deal.
Very expensive Tinder.
Yeah, forked out another bit of money.
First rule of the Davo, Tom and Callum podcast is you don't talk about the Davo, Tom and Callum podcast. The second rule of the Davo, Tom and Callum podcast is you don't talk about the Davo, Tom and Callum podcast.
Davo, over the weekend, me and Callum had a farewell party for one of our mates, Lewis. He's moving to Brisbane to study his PhD.
Oh, good on you, Lewis.
Yeah.
Farewell, Lewis.
So Lewis is someone who doesn't really organise anything. So we've ended up organising him like a surprise farewell.
Cute.
And we stop off at our first stop, this place called Suburban Brew.
Okay, so you're doing like a tour or something?
We had a bus. One of our mates was driving the bus, and we just stopped off at a few breweries throughout the day. Yeah,
It was pretty much, it was great. Like a little pub crawl, had a few eskies on the bus, and just went around the city for a bit, and
Yeah, pretty quaint stuff. But yes, our first stop, Suburban Brew, it's just in Goodwood. And we parked the bus down one of the roads, and we're walking through an OTR, and Callum's showing off something that he just bought about 20 minutes earlier. And
I could probably take one.
I wasn't
guess.
showing off. Someone asked me about it, and I reciprocated by telling them more details.
Showing off. But Callum has been doing this for a while now, and I know that he's on my budget now, and I think this is maybe a good time to sort of, I don't know, maybe confront him and say, mate, it's not on, and I think we're just going to have to take him to the fresh courtroom.
Okay.
You
are entering the courtroom of Fresh 92.7. The people are real. The cases are real. The rulings are final. This is Fresh 92.7's courtroom.
Yeah, so Callum, the last few months, maybe all the way back for a year, you've lost your good pair of sunnies in the beach.
A beach accident.
Yeah, there was. He was trying to
Seagull
body
took
surf, and something happened. Next thing, he lost his sunnies. He went back there the next day, trying to
Go back with a metal detector.
wading through the water,
picking up random seagulls, trying to fish it out of their mouth.
Now, obviously, this is a tough thing to swallow, right? Losing your good pair of sunnies, couple $100
They
easy.
were good Ray-Bans, you know.
And-
They were ones I wouldn't want to lose.
And look, I understand in the meantime, in the interim, you got to get yourself just like an average crappy pair of sunnies, right?
Yeah, yep.
And he sort of fell into this routine of buying himself a pair of servo sunnies.
Yes, he has. And he's bought probably 10 of them since I've known him.
Exactly right, Davo. He's not stopped buying servo sunnies because they're cheap. But they're not that cheap.
No,
they're like $20 to $30
yeah,
still.
they're still that's a decent chunk out of our pay.
Yeah. Now, you're thinking $20 to $30, you have it for 6 months, you lose it. What's that? It's nothing, right?
It is what it is.
This bloke has this mindset going on that, I'll just buy a cheap pair of servo sunnies.
Disposable.
$20, $30. Disposable. Exactly right. He loses them every night and has to buy a new pair every bloody weekend.
What happens? I don't want to fall into this trap of constantly spending money on these sunnies, but coincidentally, the days I go to buy these sunnies are days where we go out for a party, and then I end up losing them.
And you can't muster up the willpower to keep them safe for one night.
I need a time around my neck or something.
Yes, you need the librarian chain.
Yeah.
You can get them.
Yeah. Now, what's happened this most recent time, Davo, is on this farewell party, Callum's there showing off his new servo sunnies that he's just bought this day, right?
Yeah.
20 minutes before. And as he's showing it off, other people that are on this farewell tour have thought, well, crap, I haven't got any sunnies for the day. We're passing an OTR. We'll stop in there and we'll all grab some sunnies. He started a trend of all our friends now buying servo sunnies.
They're awful as well.
I think the worst part about this trend, and keep in mind, David, the ones I had on were the most polarized looking, like that blue tinge on the glass.
Yeah.
Real making a statement.
Hugging his face.
Yes,
Yes, it is.
And then we all of a sudden had about 8 of us guys in this bus fleet going pub to pub with these awful servo sunnies on. Like, it was definitely a weird group to look at.
I want to bring this to attention on air so we can stop him from buying and losing servo sunnies. Now, I know buying a good pair of sunnies is expensive, and you are on my budget now, so you're saving money.
You wouldn't have thought so.
Callum, I want to know, how much money do you think you've spent in the last 12 months on disposable servo
Disposable
sunnies?
sunnies, I'd say 120.
I'd say more.
You would?
I'd say
I'd say
100%
120.
more. That's only a few pairs.
Don't bring it up.
I know how much you've spent.
You're listening to Davo, Tom and Callum, the podcast.
Everyone, sprinkling somebody's ashes is such a monumental thing in somebody's life. For the person that's sprinkling the ashes to the person who is making up the ashes, it's a big thing for them too, where you get...
What?
I'm saying for the dead person as well.
Yeah, we get what you're saying. Is that a monumental time? I don't know if they know what's going on.
I mean, like, if you have to be, like, sprinkled in a place that's ideal, right?
It feels like an odd way to start this chat, but...
Pretty much, this lady in Ibiza is at a pool party, and this isn't an ordinary pool party. It's your classic Ibiza sort of route, where it's, Martin Garrix, Calvin Harris, David Guetta, they've all performed there, and they regularly have residencies there and everything. So it's one of those big ones you see in the movie, like everyone partying, wading in water about up to knee deep, and it's a lot of fun.
It looks so cool over there. Like, over there summer in Ibiza, all of our heavy hitters from Fresh are over there giving it heaps. So I think we should need to take this show on the road next year.
Huge.
And go do a...
road trip to Ibiza.
I think so.
I'd love to get that across the line.
Big line to cross. But she's there, and she's brought her brother's ashes. And she's standing in the pool about knee deep. Everyone's partying, having a good time. Then she turns, dunks the ashes in the water, and continues to dance.
Are you kidding?
The brother must have loved partying, right? Imagine if he hated Martin Garrix. Imagine if he was an R&B soul fan.
Imagine just being a stranger in the pool with a bunch of ashes dipped into it.
It's all well and good when it's, your brother, your person.
Yeah.
But when you're a stranger and you got someone else's mate hanging on your leg, like, not it.
Stick into your leg hair. You have to shower off one of those cubicles.
I imagine it'd be like that scene in Caddyshack where there's the Snickers bar floating through the pool and everyone's trying to get out and avoid it.
Trying to run, yeah, surely, or like piranhas in there or something. Like everyone's just sprinting out.
I'm getting concerned though, because this is the second story coming out in the news recently with people spreading ashes in a weird place. Remember, recently somean threw their brother at bloody Pink.
Ashes. Brother's ashes.
Yeah, it wasn't a full body. It was not a full body situation. Heavy lift, but yeah, the ashes.
Oh no.
Love this podcast? Support it and sponsor today. Simply head to AuscastNetwork.com for details.